Nick, powder that nose. It's too red. Where be our locals' gifts, chump? If we don't get them, I will delete your ceiling cat. Miss your streams, nose man.
Why do you miss my streams? They're happening all the time now. Don't you delete my ceiling cat. That's my cat. I shoved it in that ceiling and it stays there. God, everybody's a fucking critic. I was at a club and there was a go-go dancer. And I was talking to the go-go dancer. She was sitting on the bar. And she told me, it was like really like loud music, of course. And I'd been to the club a couple times. And so like I had seen her before or whatever. And I was talking to her. This is not a dirty conversation. That's what made it funny. I was just talking to this person. And she goes, hey, do you want to know about me? It's $20. Is what I thought she said. And I was like, yes, that's awesome. I love hearing stories. And I don't get to talk to people like you that often. Just tell me why you're dancing in a shitty nightclub. Like, how did your life get here? Is this what you wanted or is this a catastrophe? I'm very interested now. And I always like, I always tip performers anyway. So it's like, here's $20. And she like sits down and faces me and grabs my head and shoves it into her chest. I'm like, what the fuck is this? What's going on? So I like pull back and she's like, what? And I was like, I thought you were going to tell me your story, like your life story or whatever. And she goes, I said, do you want to motorboat me? And I was like, oh, I didn't hear that at all. Sorry. Not really. No, I don't. But it was good. I thought she said, do you want to know about me? Which is actually true. That I wanted, I'm such a dork. No, I want to talk to you, lady who's dancing. Grifty says, so is Jim dead? I don't know. He might be. Rumor has it, like Ralph has been reporting feverishly about Mr. Medicare being dead. Even saying, he also reported that Flamenco was dead, but then later it was like Flamenco was at Jim's funeral. I don't know like how this works. You guys may not know who Mr. Medicare is. Some of you, if you don't, it's probably for the best to stay away from the sector if you're not already in it. But Jim is Mr. Medicare, and there's a rumor that he is deceased. I have no confirmation or non-confirmation of this. Someone said there's going to be a post about it at some point, but I don't know. This is outside. Jim's dead? I don't know. Kirsch said she talked to him the other day. Well, that's exactly what Kirsch would say, isn't it? I'm just kidding. I have no idea. Ralph is reporting on it. Who knows? No one, like, people suspect who Jim is. It's never, I don't know if it's ever really been like confirmed. I'm sure someone's like, yes, we definitely confirmed it, whatever. And I don't know. But I've never met Jim in person or anything like that. I only ever talked to him online on like shows or, DMs a while back. But I haven't talked to Jim in years, so who knows? Sam Young number 5 says, Alyssa Clips has already made a clip about you speaking on Gino, etc. Amazing. Well, she has to do it fast now. She's running out of time. I've never taken melatonin. I'm always of the opinion I don't like taking anything to help me sleep because then I might need that thing to sleep. Right? I have narcolepsy though, so it's kind of cheating. But one of the things I do, if I can't sleep, it's usually because I have some anxiety of some sort. So I do like a breathing exercise, and it helps. Or I read anything, because these days reading knocks me out right away. The closest I've ever come is when I was using, right, I would take ketamine before bed, and I would take enough ketamine to knock me into a K-hole. Because that would produce a really cool hallucinatory experience, which I was into. But the thing about ketamine is you wake up. It's like an hour. You wake up. So it's not effective. Like, it's an anesthetic. It's not a sleep aid. So it doesn't really help you sleep, if that makes sense. Because you tend to wake up, your heart rate's a little elevated and stuff like that. It's not like it's not a useful thing for that. But that's the closest I can think of. The main thing is, I would do ketamine after shows and stuff at night because then I didn't have anything to do. So I could get knocked out for an hour and then wake up, go to the bathroom, and then go back and go to bed after that. Don't do that. I'm not promoting that in any way. You should not do illegal substances. Obviously, they're devastating. That being said, I did these things. I had these experiences. So I feel like talking frankly about them might help people understand me and then understand, maybe themselves, their own situation or things that they're considering. And my recommendation is don't do any of that. I'm not convicted. I'm not a convicted felon. When you make a plea agreement that I had, you get a stay of adjudication and the judge does not accept your guilty plea. They enter it into the record in case they need to accept it or use it as evidence later for actually convicting you and applying a sentence if you screw up your probation. But so I'm not convicted felon. So once my probation is done, I can't have guns as a term of my probation. But after that, I should be able to have guns, no problem. Because I'm not surrendering my rights since I'm not convicted of a felony, and my felony charge will be dismissed at the end of my probation. All right, unless of course I screw up. Okay, but if that were not the case, if I were convicted and sentenced to the 21 months of prison, I went and served, whatever that would be. It'd be like 16 months or whatever, with good behavior, non-bad behavior, I should say. So if I had done that and was a felon, this is one of the things that Amy Coney Barrett talked about. The question is, why is this person prohibited from owning guns for the rest of their life? And it's a good fucking question when you really get down to it, because the Second Amendment doesn't say shall not be infringed unless they commit a crime. And so there is a logical nexus between forfeiting like a right that is associated with the crime. In my case, it's a non-violent felony with no victim. The crime I was accused of was having possession of a gun in the presence of drugs. That was dropped. That would have been a hard case for them to win, or a hard charge for them to win, because they could not at any point show evidence that a gun was in the possession of any particular person while drugs were present. They would have to say it was like constructive possession, but the gun was in a box under the bed. It wasn't out. And there's no ammo around it or anything like that. No ammo for that gun. There was ammo for different types of guns that were locked in a different part of the house. But so the closest they would get would be the gun under the bed in the bedroom. But they have problems with that, especially for me, because I wasn't home when I was arrested. So I know there's the vial of cocaine on the nightstand, right, in the bedroom. So that would presumably be, maybe, like that's their best argument, that would be in proximity to the gun. But when you get down to it, I wasn't home. They would have to prove that that was my vial of cocaine on the nightstand. Now, I claimed responsibility for all of the, it was all mine, right? Like everything was mine. But they would have to prove, like, had that not happened, they would have to prove that that vial was mine and that it wasn't anyone else in the home who put it there while I was gone, like that I had to have knowledge that it was there and what was in it. It's kind of hard to charge. We could have gotten into a whole fight about whether or not I was in possession of any of the drugs because I wasn't home. Like that would have been an angle to try and make a defense of the criminal act. Again, I've admitted to all of it, so it doesn't matter at this point. But that would have strategically been one of the ways you could try and attack it. Like, he's not home. How's he in possession? Say, well, it is his home and the stuff's in there. It's like, but how long's he been gone? They would have to prove that I was there proximate to the cocaine. But when they grab me on the side of the road, I'm on a road. They don't know if I've been in my house ever. they would have to establish that. And so it becomes kind of a difficult question. But they ended up dropping the gun charge. So in this world where I'm in, there's just a possession charge. So what about a possession charge justifies the forfeiture of your Second Amendment rights? You can maybe say like an assault charge would justify for the forfeiture of a Second Amendment right because it's violent. There's a victim. You have a propensity to cause harm. Maybe. I'm not agreeing with all these points. I'm just saying like you can at least kind of get there. But with possession, they go, you got to go, why does a person charged with possession have anything to do with that? Or what about another nonviolent felony? Like maybe they steal something out of a car. Oh, sorry, you can't have a gun for the rest of your life. What's the logical nexus between the gun and the criminal act? Why is there a forfeiture of the right? Why is the right surrendered here? The right's not abused in some way, and the right's not used in a criminal act. So what is it? Typically, we only restrict rights like for an extended period of time if they're part of the criminal act itself. Like if you're using your speech to bully someone, for example, and you commit criminal acts with your speech, you might get a long-term suppression of your speech, a reduction of the amount, not all of it, but a specific and narrowly tailored reduction in the amount. Like say, for example, you might get a restraining order placed upon you by the state that says that you can't contact or mention or threaten someone for years after your conviction. Well, that's an abridgment of your First Amendment right to speech, but you forfeited that right by using speech to violate the law and the rights of another. So that makes sense again. But yeah, the forfeiture of Second Amendment rights for quote unquote felons as a class of people is kind of wild. It doesn't make any sense, but it's guns. Redneck Hipster says, miss me with that bullshit. No victim, no crime. It is, it was quite a thing. It was quite a thing having the prosecutor put in writing to the judge that my crime does not have a victim. It is not a victim crime. That was as a thing where you just go, then what are we doing here? Like logically, liberty wise, there's no victim. How, like, what is the criminal act if there's no victim? What are we talking about?
Cancel that subscription. Cancel that subscription.
How many do you have to cancel now?
Fuck off and die. Okay, great. That's $50 I'll never see back. That's annoying.
Wait a minute. I got a feeling about something. What date was this? April 26, 2025. Hold on. Let me cook. Oh, rats. Man, I was hoping. I thought maybe Kurt's like annual subscription to my channel on locals would have gone through, and that he can't. That would have been so fucking funny. That would have been so fucking funny. But he canceled on August 29th of last year. Man, that would have been perfection. It's too close. It's too close to the sun. August 29th. I'm trying to think of this. So Kurt kind of like had his turn after that. Okay, so this tracks. All right. So April and Lady Rackets and I went to a tattoo convention in July of last year. And that was, I believe, the last time I spoke to Kurt was on the phone after that convention. And I talked to him for a long time. And so he would have then been charged the next month, which would have been August, and then he would have canceled shortly after being charged. So, yeah, so that's when it happened. That makes sense. Einstein says, not everything is about you, Nick. I beg to differ. Evidence shows otherwise.